What's up, everybody? I'm Adam. You're watching the Model Aviator channel. This week we're checking out the brand spanking new E-Flite Twin Otter 1.4 meter. It's technically about 1.45 meters, 57.1 inch wingspan. Decent size model, not to be confused with the old E-Flite 1.2 meter Twin Otter. Consider this an updated and upsized alternative to that. It's a brand new mold. Let's look into the hood and see what this thing's all about. The manual does a great job of taking you through what are just a few steps of assembly. There's no glue required, and as you would expect from E-Flite, it's very quick and very simple. The part count on the new Twin Otter is very low. We started with a landing gear with our fuselage upside down and an airplane stand. We put our main landing gear assembly into place and tightened that down with 5 machine screws. There are 2-piece scale strut covers for either side of the main gear. Those go together with 4 self-tapping screws per side. Our nose wheel strut simply slides into place. You want to make sure that you have the spring suspension loop to the rear of the airplane, and you'll hold that in place with 2 self-tapping screws. The horizontals utilize a single carbon spar. You slide those into place, and you'll tighten each side down with a single self-tapping screw. Your main wing panels also utilize a carbon spar and have automatic electronic connections. You slide those into place. You'll use 2 screws per wing. They are different sizes, front to back, so pay attention to the instructions. The main wing struts utilize 2 self-tapping screws. They're different sizes on either end there as well, so again, pay attention to your instructions. At this point, you're very close to being done. There are a couple of antennas that need to be installed. They just slide in and snap into place. You need to snap the ball link onto the ball of the elevator control horn. All the other push rods and ball links are pre-installed for you. You need to install your propellers. You want to make sure you balance those beforehand. They are counter-rotating and they rotate in towards the fuselage, so you want to make sure that you get the correct pitch on the correct side. The Twin Otter has a 57.1 inch wingspan. It's 41.1 inches long. Our example weighs 4 pounds, 1.9 ounces, ready to fly with a recommended 4S 2200 flight pack. It has an Avian 25 amp dual smart light brushless ESC, 2 2830 950 kV brushless motors, 9 gram servos throughout, and is intended for 3S and 4S 2200 to 3200 milliamp packs. While the new E-Flite Twin Otter is not exactly a small model, it is within the size range that some people would consider a quote-unquote park flyer. However, it is above the suggested weight for a park flyer, at least here in the U.S., but that is a suggestion, not a steadfast law. So you absolutely can legally fly this airplane in parks or schoolyards. You just need to make sure that you're following the laws governing model flying in your area, and you make sure that you're taking the steps to keep people and their property out of harm's way when you do it. Horizon sells this airplane as a plug-and-play or a bind-and-fly. With the plug-and-play, you choose the radio protocol and install your receiver of choice yourself. We're reviewing the bind-and-fly, and with the bind-and-fly, it comes with a pre-installed 6-channel Spectrum receiver that is Spectrum DSM2 and DSM-X protocol compatible. It is a 5-channel airplane out of the box with the potential for more virtual channels. You have elevator, rudder with a steerable nose wheel, ailerons, flaps, and of course, throttle control. One of the neat features of the bind and fly is it comes with some differential thrust pre-programmed in and pre-mixed to the rudder channel. It's nothing to be alarmed about. It's not a big differential thrust mix, so it doesn't change the way the airplane feels during normal flying or normal aerobatics. But if you want to get aggressive and do things like pop tops, pinwheels, and flat spins, it definitely comes in handy for those. Worth noting, with the plug and play, you can't get the differential thrust unless you're utilizing Spectrum and you install a Spectrum Smart receiver. If you do that, then that pre-programmed differential thrust will be there with the plug and play as well. This one has an AR631 Plus Spectrum receiver pre-installed, which means that you have AS3X Plus stabilization as well as optional Safe Select available. One of the virtual functions we talked about is you can program Safe Select and assign that to a switch to switch between that and AS3X Plus. Obviously, if you have a Spectrum Airwear capable transmitter, you're going to get some smart telemetry that you see here. The other virtual function is with a Spectrum Airwear capable transmitter, you can scroll past the telemetry or just go straight to avian programming and program thrust reverse with this one. And the bind and fly comes with the smart transmitter file downloaded into that receiver. So upon binding, you can choose to upload that directly into your transmitter. It essentially will be the manual setup as well as voice prompts pre-programmed to your transmitter. We'll talk a little more about that in the setup chapter coming up in a little bit. The Twin Otter has a lot of nice scale details. You have all the antennas, windshield wipers, door handles, properly corrugated control surfaces. The propellers look the part. You have LED wingtip navigation and landing lights, as well as a flashing strobe on top of the vertical. The entire airframe has been reinforced with composite. You can't break it in the air under flight forces, and should you crash it, it's going to be a lot more resilient in that case as well. They've also beefed up the nose wheel area as well as the linkage there. It's much more difficult to break that, but as I've said before, some of you are talented, and if you manage to break it, it's a lot easier to repair as well. There's also an aluminum tail skid, which comes in handy because off smooth surfaces, this thing is fun to wheelie and it makes it easy. It is a convenient top loader with plenty of room in that battery bay for even the largest batteries recommended. And there is a secondary hatch right here that gives you access to your receiver and your rudder and elevator servos. There is a quick connect for nose wheel adjustment on the rudder servo arm in there. So that's how you get to that. Now, obviously, at this size, it's going to fit in most vehicles fully assembled, but if you want to take it down, getting the wings and wing struts off goes pretty fast. You can even get the horizontals off pretty quickly if you want to for storage and transport. And finally, you can buy the Timber/Air Tractor float set, and it bolts right on for float flying. And given the fact that this airplane has differential thrust and a reverse option, it will make negotiating taxiing on water much easier. So one thing I want to point out about this airplane, it does have a metal gear servo on the rudder to handle the nose wheel steering and the rudder. All the other servos are plastic gear servos, and it does have foam hinges. And the reason I want to touch on this is I hear a lot of different opinions on this. I can tell you that I've got almost 15 years now flying foam airplanes with all different types of hinges. And in my experience, as somebody that doesn't bang his airplane into stuff all the time, foam hinges and plastic gear servos on a 4-pound airplane like this are fine. I've even had both those on lighter, smaller EDFs and flown them for over 100 flights and been just fine. Where you run into trouble with foam hinges is when the airplanes get heavier and bigger, when they get really fast at a heavier, bigger weight, or when the end user is trying to deflect the control surfaces much farther than both the hinges and the servos were ever designed to go, and put flight forces on them with like 3D and XA that, again, the manufacturer never intended that airplane to do. With this particular airplane, it's a Twin Otter. It's not a 3D plane. It's not an XA airplane. Wasn't intended for that. It's 4 pounds. I think plastic gear servos and foam hinges on this one will be just fine for 90% of the people that fly RC. When it comes to setup, the manual is written in the new format, which takes you step by step through how to program your transmitter of choice. You can also take advantage of the smart transmitter file. When you do that, it uploads the manual setup and all the program voice prompts into your transmitter, and you are absolutely good to go. But keep in mind, once you do that, you can still fly the airplane and then make tweaks to the setup. You don't have to stay with it. There's even an advanced menu that you can activate that allows you to get into more parameters in forward programming so that you can adjust AS3X Plus as well. We made a few adjustments to our AS3X Plus, and we also made one mechanical adjustment. We went from the outermost hole on the control horn of our elevator to the innermost hole to give us more elevator throw. That's the only mechanical change that we made. Everything else are just tweaks to the smart transmitter setup that we made in our transmitter. We flew this airplane on the Spectrum 2200 4S 50C and 3S 30C packs. We've got some demos coming up for you right after our full setup info pages there. Next, you can pause those, check out the tweaks we made, and see our full setup. Enjoy the flying. After that, we'll meet you back here. We'll give you our final thoughts.
The Twin Otter has a pretty wide speed range. It's very stable, slow, and displays no bad habits. When you give it the beans, it's decently quick, especially on 4-cell, and has pretty decent vertical as well. This one is designed for sport and scale flying, so any kind of sport aerobatics you want to do, pretty easy to pull off with the Twin Otter. When you want to be more aggressive with the maneuvering, the differential thrust really comes into its own. That's a pinwheel, and the differential thrust makes things like flat spins and pop tops just as easy. The nice thing about the mild differential thrust mix is that it doesn't affect normal flying and normal maneuvering very much. Everything feels pretty standard, and inverted flight's very easy to pull off. Doesn't require much down elevator because you've got a pretty high thrust line, which turns into a low thrust line when you're inverted. It's very stable in cross control situations like flat turns and slips as well. And we're climbing up here. We're going to do a little blender. And as you can see with the differential thrust, it flat spins really nicely. One other little detail on that, the added elevator throw aids in flattening that out. So that's the reason we did that with our setup. And we're going to show you two sets of stalls just to prove a point. This is a clean stall. As you can see, it wallows a bit but does not drop a wing. It's going to do the same thing at the takeoff and landing flap position. Worth noting, this is the pure smart transmitter file setup. This is before we added extra elevator throw. And now we're going to do the same 3 tests with our extra elevator throw. And now it will drop a wing a bit. It's very easy to recover. It's going to do the same thing in the takeoff and landing flat positions. The point of showing you this is we always say that seeing a stall test demo doesn't mean anything to you if you don't know the setup of the airplane, because the setup, balance, elevator throw, these things can change stall characteristics. As you might expect, being tricycle gear with decent sized tires and a lot of propeller clearance, the Twin Otter does a great job off of grass. And of course, if you want to get off the ground in a hurry, it can accommodate you for sure, especially on 4-cell. Here's a quick takeoff on 3-cell. Clearly, you're not going to have the climb rate you do on 4-cell, but that's to be expected. You lose some speed. You can still do a loop from straight level flight. It will still fly inverted and do other aerobatics. Won't quite wad up as well, utilizing the differential thrust because you just don't have as much power. But if 3-cell is all you have, you can have fun with this airplane and certainly successfully fly it. We had our timer set to 6 minutes and could get anywhere from 6 to 7 on both 3 and 4S with throttle management.
Had a great time flying the Twin Otter. It's a capable airplane. It's very stable, doesn't have any bad habits, and you have a lot of options. First and foremost, the selling point that this airplane has, the leg up that it has on the competition, is that you can get in a bind and fly. If you fly Spectrum, they've made it as easy as you can possibly make it. It's very easy to get together. It uses common 2200 3 and 4S packs up to 3200. Almost everybody has at least some, if not all, of those. And that smart transmitter file, getting that set up is going to be so vital for so many people in the hobby because not everybody is competent at taking a raw receiver, putting it in there, and then programming AS3X or SAVE or both from the ground up. There's just a lot of people that aren't comfortable doing that. And with this one, you don't have to. I will say that when it comes to the competition, because I know some of you are going to ask, there's a few sports scale Twin Otters out there. This is the smallest of 3 that I'm thinking about. There's one a little bigger than this and one a good bit bigger than both those. They all fly brilliantly. I'm not going to lie, they do. But to get the competition to fly well, I had to use my skills at setting an airplane up, setting up a receiver, and I gave those airplanes the advantages that this one comes with right out of the box. You don't have to be able to tune AS3X Plus. They actually say that this is a skill level 2 airplane. I absolutely agree with that. If you're versed with the trainer and comfortable with the trainer, you'll be able to get this airplane out of the box, get it together, utilize the smart transmitter file, get it in the air, and if you can handle an Aero Scout or an Apprentice, you can absolutely handle this. And then you can turn it up from there, and it will teach you a little bit about tuning an airplane and making it more aggressive. We made it a little more aggressive than the stock smart transmitter file setup, but not too much. You can go even further than we did. You can go into avian programming and adjust the differential thrust mix. It's a 10% mix out of the box. You can go all the way to 50 and make pop tops, pinwheels, and flat spins blurry fast if you want to do that. So there's just a lot of options for this airplane. Convenience and ease of use is the name of the game, and that's what this one has that nobody else can match. Now, When it comes to price point, we don't know what the price point is at the time that we're filming this, but I've been given a range, and I can say that if they hit that range, and I think they will, it's going to be very competitive. You'll be able to get the bind and fly for about what some of the competition costs for a plug and play. And remember the advantages of the bind and fly that we talked about. You don't have to know how to do a differential thrust mix. Done for you. You don't have to know how to tune AS3X Plus. Done for you. You don't even have to know how to program your transmitter. Even that is done for you. And that is the top selling point of this airplane. So if you decide that you'd like to add one to your hangar, we'll put some links in the description where you can do just that. When you go through those links, it helps support our channel when you do that. Heidi and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's it for us. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.